offs when you both were into it, correct?
I would say that loving FOs were just words at that point.
Well, those were words that you said to Mr. Combs, correct?
Those are texts. Yes.
Now to the drug use. Cassie testified that Diddy was so addicted that he was once hospitalized for an overdose. The defense attempting to portray Diddy as an out-of-control addict, not some mastermind of a criminal enterprise.
The duration of your relationship, you were both addicted to painkillers?
Very close to it, yeah.
But periodically withdrawing and being affected by the withdrawal symptoms in your relationship, right?
Yep.
And that was a big part of Mr. Combs' mood swings, right?
I don't know if it was a big part, but I think it was a part.
You understood that if he did not get his painkillers that was reliant on, that it would affect his mood, right?
Yeah, anybody that's addicted to painkillers is like that.
And Mr. Combs in particular was affected by it?
Right.
To your knowledge and in your experience with him?
Yeah.
And you were particularly attuned to his mood. For good reason, right?
Yeah. We were together.
Cassie will be back on the stand tomorrow to begin her 15th hour of testimony. And actually, there's drama around that tonight as well, because the prosecution wants her off the stand before the weekend because she's so pregnant. The defense, however, not making any guarantees that it will end its cross by then. With me now, CNN's Kara Scannell, our eyes and ears in the courtroom today. Kara, first of all, talk to me about how the defense attorney treated Cassie on the stand. Was she effective?
You know, I think she was, because it was a female lawyer representing Combs. She was handling the questioning with Ventura, and at times she was very disarming. She had complimented Ventura, saying that she was a beautiful woman, and Ventura said thank you. There were times where they would talk over each other and they would both laugh at the same time. So she seemed to have created a rapport with her that was not adversarial. And through that, she was able to ask her some of these questions in which Ventura would readily agree, because there was testimony and text messages there, but also because they had this kind of dynamic that existed between them. So it seemed as though she was effective in that way and able to get her to respond to these questions when she needed her to.
I hear that she was also almost smiling through some of the readings of these more effusive, romantic text messages early on in their relationship in front of the jury. But then there was also a moment that I want you to describe when the defense attorney was questioning her credibility about what she saw about an allegation that Diddy had dangled one of her friends over a balcony and then thrown her into patio furniture.
I mean, there were so few rare moments of tension because of that kind of camaraderie they had established, but this was one of them where it was a little bit more direct and a little more pointed, and that was where she asked Ventura to recount one of the times that Ventura said that she saw Combs hit one of her friends, and that was when Ventura said she woke up, she was in her apartment, she heard a commotion, went to the balcony and saw Combs dangling one of her friends and then throwing this friend down on the patio furniture. So Ventura was asked about that, and she said, yep, that's what her testimony was. And then the lawyer showed her a text message that she had with Combs' personal assistant, which seemed to suggest that she had only just learned of that and maybe hadn't seen it herself. And Ventura had said, it says what it says. So she kind of left it as it is there. But that was just one of the few moments where it got a little bit more pointed. But otherwise, it was actually a relatively friendly cross-examination and not one of these real adversarial ones that you often see.
We'll see if that holds true tomorrow. Kara Scannell, thank you so much. Our brilliant legal experts are back. That criminal defense attorneys Mark O'Mara and Stacey Schneider. Also here with us from fellow prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani. We got a lot to get to. This was a jam-packed cross-examination. Stacey, let me begin with you. How do you think that cross-examination, the non-adversarial tone of it, is going to go over with the jury? Is that the right tactic?
It's completely the right tactic. You have Cassie Ventura, who is absolutely, according to her testimony, a victim of the defendant, Sean Combs. And what they've done is they've taken all of the direct examination and they walked her through the parts where Cassie is explaining that this was a relationship. There were texts brought out that she loved him, she missed him, she would fly anywhere to be with him. There were texts brought out also today that she looked forward to some of these freak-offs in the beginning of the relationship. There was a really crucial text brought out about that videotaped hotel freak-off from 2016 that we've seen all the time, and the jury has seen at least 5 times so far, of him assaulting her in the hotel hallway, where she had said to him on that same day, we can have fun. I hope you don't think I don't want to do this. So those really changed the picture toward or in favor of the defense narrative, which is this is not a racketeering conspiracy to assault women or coerce women into sexual acts. This was a participatory relationship between 2 people that was out of bounds in real life, but was not part of Combs's business enterprise.
Well, Neva, on that point, certainly we're only, day or 4, I think, into the trial. The jury is going to have to hear a lot more. And we knew from the prosecution's opening that it will be not necessarily chronological and we'll get a lot of different information. But the defense is, as Stacey's indicating, trying to undermine the perception the jury might have from the prosecution's case of why. And the defense showed messages from, and talk about the case about the drug use and withdrawal that may have fueled violent outbursts from Combs. Is that going to be enough to convince the jury?
No, Laura, drug use is not an excuse to beat someone at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. And, the prosecution can still get to racketeering without sex trafficking. No question today was a good day for the defense. They had the receipts. They had the text messages and emails. If I was the government, I would have fronted some of this a little bit better. But Cassie testified that she was in love with him. And can any human being reasonably engage in sex where they're urinated on, sex when they're menstruating, on their UTI, take so many drugs that they throw up? I think the jurors are going to see past this, and the government's going to come back on redirect, and they're going to have experts that are going to talk about the psychology of an abuse victim. Now, the defense did score some points today. The fact that Combs had sex with other women while Cassie watched, that does support the swingers lifestyle argument. The fact that Cassie took drugs outside of the freak-offs voluntarily, she experimented at Burning Man, certainly that helps the defense. But I think they need to go a lot farther than they did today. And frankly, I expected more. I expected a Camille Vasquez, Amber Heard type day today. I think this was going to be the biggest day of the trial. I was pretty underwhelmed.
Mark, how did you feel about it? I mean, the tone, the nature of the cross-examination, putting some of these messages on about how she hesitated, though, later to take part in the freak-offs at times. What did you get from this?
I think the tone was the best they could do. She used a scalpel instead of an axe or anything else. We all have those tools available to us, and she had to do it in a way that acknowledges she's a victim, because the jury believes that already. That video is going to stick in their minds. But again, I thought they did a great job of doing it very nicely, very calmly. The camaraderie they almost had, the discourse that they had comes across very well, and they was able to use that scalpel to make some of those points they had to, that this was not coercive. It was consensual for the most part. And even though there was some violence, they've thrown in this idea that violence may come from this drug addiction. And though we don't like drugs and we don't like drug addictions, we like it better than that truly volitional act of violence. So I thought they did a very good job today with what they had to get to through this witness.
She is really the star witness for this case. I mean, there will be others. She's but one of the victims who were named, other persons pseudonymed as well. We can't forget about that person. And of course, there are 5 felony counts, including racketeering. We'll hear about a lot more evidence and testimony, I presume. But Stacey, given that Cassie Ventura is such a significant witness, the judge wants to wrap up the cross-examination by lunch tomorrow, with the prosecutors adding, quote, "This witness is very, very pregnant. We are afraid she could have the baby over the weekend. We want her off the stand before the weekend." I mean, this is certainly a reality. But who controls how long a cross is going to last? It's not the prosecution.
That's right. The judge is doing his best to remind the defense, move it along, move it along. But the other day, one of the defense attorneys for Combs said, there were things that came out during Cassie's direct examination that made us reevaluate our cross-examination. And that was hinting that they were going to take longer or might go on a different pathway than what was expected. And certainly a defendant is allowed to present his defense in court. The judge can't really rush them through the testimony if they need to cross-examine her more than they had intended in the beginning of this plan to get her off the stand by the end of Friday. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. The attorneys have signaled it's probably not going to happen. They expect to go into the following week. This is a very long cross-examination, but the prosecution took such a long time in their direct examination going over minutia and details of these freak-offs that I'm not even sure were necessary to make the point. Once they got out that the violence was done.
Yeah. On that point, sorry, Stacey, do you think that the pacing or the minutia and the detail was important?
I do, and I'm a former prosecutor, victims' rights lawyer, but I gotta agree with Stacey. I mean, Combs's life is on the line, so I understand Judge Subramanian wants to move this along, but you have to give the defense their fair shot. And really, I don't think they've gotten to a lot of their key points. We went through all the documents today, but they're really scratching the surface of the jealousy, some of the other relationships, Kid Cudi, Michael B. Jordan. We got into a little bit of the drug use today. They're trying to connect that and somehow explain away the 2016 beating. I don't think they can do it, but I think they're really just getting started, and that's not even counting for redirect. I don't think we're going to get done tomorrow. I don't think the judge can do much to make it happen by tomorrow.
And we already saw in one of the instances they allowed the defense to recross after a redirect at one point in time. And remember, racketeering carries a possible life sentence. Very serious. Everyone stand by. We got so much more to get to tonight. The defense's strategy on full display in court today. And my next guest knows a lot about it. That's because he's a famed defense attorney himself. Well, he's also the father of one of these attorneys. All right, there it goes. Tells us his thoughts on this trial and his thoughts on the Menendez brothers being resentenced. Plus, the defense doesn't want a clinical psychologist to testify. Why? Ask another expert who knows her. And later, our woman on the inside, the sketch artist with the front row seat in court, tells us how Diddy reacted to his team's cross-examination.
Smells amazing.
Oh my God. That is so good.
Should we dig in?
Longoria, Searching for Spain, Sunday at 9.
Okay. So yeah, it's like when you took off that gas that time. That was Pearl. It's got a little more time. But some of the girls like, oh my, I can go with. And listen, I just stood up there and grabbed the shillelagh girl, just feed a little bitty girl, and I'm like, yikes. Right. It got a little, what's that mean? Is that me? That's the oyster smell. One thing smell like you need a fucking autopsy. I can only imagine that. Hey, put on that smack. Every pullback don't got that. Girl, every pullback. They're gonna get some left pullbacks you done been. I ain't had no pullback. The first thing I don't know what pullbacks you been messing with, but the first thing I ever dealt with had a program. But I ain't never seen one since then. And that was 1998. You ain't had no terminator 1998. I like them to terminate them because them terminates. I like to watch it. See, these are my things. I like to watch a chick come. I like to see it. Yeah. So what's special about a terminator? Listen, them terminates a pull back like a revolver, like a motherfucker revolver, like a goddamn point. And them bitches was shooting. I'd be like, oh. I don't even remember what I was saying. I was going to tell them when I came down now. You don't remember what I was going to say? Oh. You say turtlenecks last longer? Sometimes. Who said that? Well, they do because it's the skin be going over the head. Oh, so it covers the sensitivity. Yeah, but see, I make sure I know how to handle the turtle. I pull that skin back up that head. You can't handle that. Girl, hopefully ain't no lint down there. Craig. The man. She want to be there. The land. It should be a messy bitch. You was. Nah, take that down there. The last one.
I was just curious.
It's okay, the last one. Oh, I was telling a friend of mine. Thank you, Alicia. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, and the last, that you couldn't have paid me money, I guess 10 years ago, to tell me that I'd be sitting here with you. Yeah. And I was saying to a friend of mine the other day that, and I'm not blowing you up at all. It's true. I mean, you're telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. If you're giving me any type of, yeah, this is true. If you're exalting me, it's true. Oh, okay, what's that? Oh, this is what I was saying too. I was saying, like, once we got that criticism from crazy activists, oh, I forgot about that. Go ahead. I did too, but they haven't because they're still making videos. But because they need something to do. But the truth is, and I said this to a couple of my friends, you are the most famous black trans woman of No. Who's more famous than you? I don't think Laverne is more famous. I'm not saying Laverne is not famous. Oh, Laverne is way more famous. Cut it out. Yeah. No, I don't think no, bitch, don't do that. No, I'm not being funny. That's what you said. I'm not areas. I'm not saying that. Let me finish. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. What I'm saying is, I'm telling you that I had a conversation with someone the other day. And this is not the first conversation that I had. I had it twice probably this week. Laverne is famous, and I know Laverne likes to show between Cal and New York there. I'm not taking anything from that. Laverne is famous. Laverne laid, but what I am saying to you is, I think that you are by far the most famous black trans woman. There are people who know, what's the girl who did Pose? The girl who did Pose. There are a lot of girls that did Pose. Janet Mock. Yes. Girl, that's the only one that mattered over there. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's the creator. Mark Garagos, who happens to be the Menendez brothers' attorney. And Mark, he joins me now. Mark, welcome. Glad to have you here. I really want to get to the Menendez brothers and all of the big developments in that case in just a moment. But I got to ask you about the Diddy trial. I've seen you inside the courtroom. Has the defense been effective?
No, I think so far on a case, I don't know if it's the defense being the kind of effective or if kind of all of the social media hoopla had kind of made this case into something that it wasn't. I think what you are seeing, and I was watching your previous panel, and I thought they did a superb job of breaking it down. What you are seeing is what the case is. The case more closely resembles a typical criminal case rather than the kind of explosive, almost mythological case that had been fabricated in social media. So, yes, has it been effective? What do you think you're going to get out of the father of the defense lawyer?
She gave one huge opening statement where she actually talked about the noise and intimated that the court of public opinion maybe had a different impression of what the prosecution's case was going to be able to show. And I wonder, even the voir dire process, very extensive, I had a jury consultant tell me that some of the jurors may not be able to separate conduct that they find morally objectionable from what they will be charged through instructions to actually evaluate. Do you have confidence that all the noise you speak about in the court of public opinion coming into this case is going to influence their ability to be objective?
One of the things that was interesting about this case was the jury selection and the idea that it's somewhat unusual to bring individual jurors in. One of the benefits of that is if somebody says something that is very negative or very positive. It doesn't taint the entire pool. One of the other advantages of it is that sometimes you think people will be more honest. I always think, and I always push for, and it did not happen in this case, attorney voir dire, because as much as the judge can learn about the case and pretrial motions and everything else, it's the attorneys who are closest to the case, to the facts, and know what's going to actually get rolled out. And so they're the ones who can generally identify if somebody is prejudiced or not prejudiced. My big worries, and I've argued this for years and actually written a book about it, is when you have what I call it stealth juror. And that's a juror who wants to get on the case and is not really as forthright as they could be, and they've got an agenda. That's what you're trying to avoid.
One thing that this judge is trying to avoid is Cassie Ventura testifying beyond this weekend. He's seeming to insist that they wrap it up by tomorrow. Setting aside whether a judge can even order that to happen, is it even realistic that this witness could be done by tomorrow?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been this is the other problem with these kinds of what I call supersized trials. If they don't have a camera in the courtroom, it's very tough because you're always getting 1 or 2 or 3 years of separation as to what happens. And if you're not getting daily transcripts and reading the daily transcripts, it's very difficult. And I would imagine just by the reporting that there is going to be some pushback on that. And I understand, and everybody I'm sure has some sympathy or empathy for the pregnancy, obviously. But at the same time, you're talking about somebody's liberty. So there's a judge is going to have to make the hard decision. And I think generally, whenever it's weighed against a Sixth Amendment right, which is the right to cross-examine and the right to have a lawyer, that usually is paramount to every other right.
Let's talk about liberty, because the Menendez brothers are now eligible for parole. This came after a judge resentenced them to life in prison with the possibility of parole. When I heard that news, my immediate thought was, what was their reaction to this decision?
Well, I quit that I had them call me on their murder phone because the prosecution had made such a big deal about cell phones in the jail. But I think the reaction was actually one more happiness or empathy for the family. I mean, one of the toughest things that I really didn't understand until we had done some hearings and I put the family members on is this is a unicorn situation. We discussed it with the judge, David Moynihan, as well. We've got a situation where the defendant's family is the same as the victim's family. So the first thing that has to happen, obviously, is the healing of that situation. But then you had this unparalleled, at least from my standpoint, situation where every single living victim of this horrific crime uniformly wanted them out. I've never seen that before. The judge commented, he'd never seen that before. And that is highly unusual, and I think they, most importantly, really were relieved that the family had some hope after 35 years of this.
And yet the judge could have released them, but it's going to go to the parole board. It'll go to the governor, Gavin Newsom. What do you think will happen? Will the governor give clemency? Will they get parole? Are they holding on to that hope, or is it too much to ask?
I think we've got several different tracks. And, we still have the habeas. We do, as you mentioned, we had the clemency hearing that was set for June 13th. Just this morning, the governor, actually it was yesterday, but reported this morning, changed that clemency hearing on June 13th to a parole hearing. He could literally do, and with the stroke of a pen, he could release them before the 4th of July. So who knows? I think it's still a work in progress. The one constant when it comes to the Menendez brothers is whatever you expect or whatever you think is going to happen generally doesn't happen.
Mark Garagos, let's talk to you all night about all that's going on. I have one final question for you, though, and it relates to what would come next. You call this a unicorn, maybe unparalleled. Some people wonder if the Menendez brothers did not have the celebrity backing, the pressure campaign, the public interest, that they may be in the same boat as so many others who would likely try to raise a similar argument to why they should be released. Should this open the door for other defendants and inmates who are similarly situated to be released?
You know, it's a great question, and let me give you an example. I was talking with a DA in the courthouse yesterday, and the DA said, you know, great result, congratulated me, and he said, but you do realize that since the previous administration initiated the resentencing for the Menendez, which was in October of last year, in that 7-month period of time, there have been a number of people who have served less time for the same charges who have been released without any fanfare, without any DA press conferences, without any notice whatsoever. So it's like I often say about celebrity cases when the prosecutors say, we just want to treat you the same. I say, don't treat me the same. Treat me the way you would treat somebody when the cameras are on. So I don't think they're getting any special treatment. They're getting over-treated.
Mark Garagos, thank you. Still ahead, it's the testimony Diddy's defense does not want the jury to hear. It's not from a witness either. It's from a psychologist. So why is that? My next guest tonight is an expert in this field and knows all about it. And I'll ask her that very question next. Plus, we know who one of the next witnesses will be to testify against Diddy. So how exactly will the prosecution use her to build their case? The legal team is back to discuss that ahead.
I'm into comedy. I'm also into flambéing. What I'm not into is heartburn. That's why I take Voquezna. One of the creators and writers.
Janet Mock. Yes, MJ Rodriguez, but we know that because we watched Pose. What I'm saying to you is, when I met you, you were doing mostly internet. And you had dibbled and dabbled in TV, but now you're doing TV, now you're doing music, now you're doing film, so, and still the internet. So my point is, I don't think I really registered all of that when we first started doing back talk. And so, like, this backlash that I sometimes get, it's uncomfortable. But I'm 49, so it's okay, and I can handle it. No, bitch. Oh, I'm 49. Sorry, I thought you were 50. And see, when I met you, yeah, you were famous, but you weren't at this level of fame. And so you got to understand that let me hold that. Okay. Remember what you're going to say. But I think that what happens is some of the girls, and I'm just going to say this, I think some of the girls, the trans girls that have attacked, they really want your spot. They really want that level of reach. They really want that level of influence. I don't care what the fuck you about to do with your face. I'm just telling you from my perspective. And what I'm saying to you is, yes, Laverne is famous. Yes, Janet Mock is famous. But when it comes to shifting culture, that's an arena that you've managed to move into that they have not. Yes, Laverne is on some of the red carpet that you have been on because she was commentating for E! and all that stuff. I'm not saying
she's been in major films.
She has been a
major movie.
Correct. But what I am telling you is, we don't hear her voice all over TikTok or all over Instagram. You understand what I'm saying? That's still a different level of influence.
What you're saying is that I'm a cultural type. Cultural.
But that's still fame. That equates to fame.
It is. But here's the thing. What you got to understand is that I was already, what people may not want to give me the recognition for it. They don't want to talk about it. The underground shit I was already doing.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Which was adult film. That undergirded the fame that came, the movies, the television, the music. I want you to understand this. Men were
Eligible non-GM owners get up to $3,000 allowance on Encore GX.
They've ruined our economy. President Trump is fixing it. Trump's plan, middle-class tax cuts, job-creating tax cuts, tariffs that bring home American jobs, slashing waste, fraud, and abuse, increasing American energy production, bringing down prices. We're already seeing results. The cost of living's coming down. Inflation and gas prices at 4-year lows. Wages are up, and we're creating American jobs. Tell Congress this is a good deal for America. Support President Trump's plan to get our economy back on track.
What causes a curve? Does it Crohn's disease or somebody I can talk to for help?
I got somebody for that. I got somebody for that. I got somebody for that. You guys got somebody for Crohn's disease?
There's hope for the estimated 1 in 10 men who may have Peyronie's disease, or PD. A urology specialist who treats PD can help you create a plan, including non-surgical options. Find somebody today at GoGetSomebody.com.
I just found out I've been paying for 27 subscriptions. It's like finding out you had 27 kids. Rocket Money, yes it was Rocket Money.
Subscriptions.
I had 2
subscriptions.
How much money did it save you? $700. I guess if you guys want to save some money, download Rocket Money. It probably will cover the drinks.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta reports. Animal Farm, Sunday at 8 on CNN.
The prosecution wants you to hear from her. The defense doesn't. I'm talking about forensic psychologist Dawn Hughes. She is an expert who has testified in multiple high-profile cases, really high-profile cases. I'm talking R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, and the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial as well. The defense arguing that her testimony should be excluded in its entirety. But they're not getting their wish. She will be able to testify within some boundaries. And in a case filled with testimony of sexual, physical, and drug abuse, the perspective of an expert, well, it could be helpful to jurors. Joining me now is Lisa Fontaine. She is a professor and expert in domestic and sexual violence, and she's the author of the book Invisible Chains. Professor, thank you for joining us this evening. I mean, Diddy's attorney is casting his relationship with Cassie as essentially not criminal, but kinky. They say he has drug problems, that there was domestic abuse, but argue against coercion or control. From what you have seen in the past 4 days of testimony, do you agree or not?
Well, we've all seen, I think, the footage of Sean Combs beating Cassie Ventura when she was on the ground. So that sure looks like force and coercion to me. And people have listened to her testimony, too, for the last couple of days about the ways in which drugs were pushed onto her and the ways in which she lived in fear. She was obligated to do sexual acts. So there's a lot there that says coercion. And one of the other witnesses, Dan Phillip, also talked about how he was terrified of Mr. Combs.
Does the fact that the defense is showing text messages about being effusive and her love for him, or that at one point she enjoyed participating in these so-called freak-offs, does that undermine the idea of control at this point?
It might undermine it for the jury, but it doesn't undermine it for me. Just because there are moments in a relationship that are maybe less bad, or because she might be performing, saying that she's attached to him, she likes him, she loves him. She may have felt feelings of love for him, but that doesn't mean that she wasn't being forced at other moments, really tortured. I mean, he may call them a freak off, but they seem like group sexual torture sessions to me.
The prosecution wants to call forensic psychologist Dawn Hughes. Diddy's attorneys fought the prosecution, arguing that her testimony is advocacy masquerading as expertise. What would an expert witness like Hughes led to a trial? What might she say?
She could explain to the jury why somebody like Ms. Ventura would stick around with Mr. Combs, even though he allegedly treats her so terribly. The sexual abuse, the physical abuse, the verbal abuse, degrading names, criticizing her appearance, and so on, keeping her up all night for these forced sex sessions. So they would help the jury understand the coercion and the bonding that can occur sometimes between an abuser and their victim.
Many people would say that or ask that question. Why would she stay? Can you explain a little bit about the psychology that might explain her choices?
So Ms. Ventura was only 19 when she got involved with Mr. Combs. That's about the age of his twins now. And at 19, her brain was still forming. We think brains develop until the people are about 25 years old. So he offered her a lot. He offered her a 10-record contract. He offered her this life of glamour at the same time as he allegedly was treating her very, very cruelly. We've seen that in the videos that he was treating her cruelly. She might stick around because she was afraid of him. She tried to get away. I think that's really important to say. She got away a couple of times, and she was brought back by some of his employees. She wasn't able to get away. She tried to get away at times. And so there's a psychology when someone is with an abuser in such an intensive way of turning to that abuser for comfort. We also know that she was addicted to drugs during this time, or she was using a lot of drugs during this time, and he was supplying them to her regularly. So that may have also made it difficult to get away. The fear.
Really helpful to help you unpack that. Lisa Fontes, Professor, thank you so much.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
My panel is back with me. Mark, I want to go right to you. Calling an expert witness to contextualize some of this testimony from Ventura, that can be helpful to a jury, right?
Well, I think it very much can, because this study of victimology, which is what the testimony would be about, does exactly what the prosecution wants to do, gives an explanation for the question that you just asked, which is, why did she stay? Because a lot of people look at an abusive situation who have not been in abusive situations themselves and say, just walk away, just leave. And we know whether it's financial reasons, educational reasons, other reasons why you simply cannot. Then you look at someone like Cassie and say, well, she had the means, she had the abilities, she had the money, maybe. But still, the idea of that control shows up so much so because it's not really tied to the dollars or a car ride away. It's that subtle emotional connection that an abuser, if he's shown to be one, sort of controls the victim with. And the idea of the prosecution being able to present that to a jury to explain away why an abusive relationship was a 10-year relationship, I think is very important. But I will tell you right now, the defense is going to have a heyday with that expert witness showing all the other possibilities. And it's going to be very interesting testimony.
Stacey, on those other possibilities, I mean, there's been a huge focus on the toxic, rocky, tumultuous, I can give you a whole lot of adjectives about this relationship. Are they spending too much time on that more broadly than the elements of the specific crimes that he's being charged with, or are they just trying to lay the foundation for connecting the dots?
I think the prosecution is trying to make out their case, because we always have to keep in mind in this trial, this is an unusual situation. These are normally, this type of abuse and alleged sexual abuse and coercion, all of these underlying crimes that they're bringing out through testimony, alleged crimes, those are usually state charges, but we have the federal government prosecuting him for sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy and transporting prostitutes across state lines. So the government is walking a fine line in a way, and they have to keep up this idea about the coercion, that he was using allegedly his business enterprise and the people who worked for him to clean up and bring women back into the fray who were trying to leave. But all in all this testimony about the abuse and the domestic violence, I'm going to repeat what the defense attorney argued in the opening statement. Domestic violence does not equal sex trafficking, and domestic violence does not equal racketeering conspiracy. Well, it's their burden of proof at all times to prove their case, and we will see in their case in chief. Nima, I want to turn to you because we know who's going to be part of the next several witnesses. One of the next two witnesses for the prosecution could be former Danity Kane member Dawn Richard. She actually sued Combs for alleged battery, for sexual harassment, for false imprisonment. Is it the right move to bring up two accusers back to back?
It is, Laura, and this is why. We heard Lisa talk about the psychology of an abuse victim, and Mark touched upon it as well. And it's not abnormal to love your abuser. You can be abused, send words of affirmation, and still be physically and sexually abused. But to the extent that there are other victims that are telling the same story of physical and sexual violence who are not in a loving relationship with Sean Diddy Combs, that is very helpful. So someone like Richard, victim 4, victim 2, these are individuals that participated in freak-offs or were employees of Combs. They're going to tell the same story without the emails and text messages that we saw today. And jurors might have a tough time believing one victim, even if that victim is Cassie Ventura, but the prosecution wants to overwhelm them with the sheer number of victims telling that same story. And when they go back into that jury deliberation room, it is going to be very difficult for the jurors to disbelieve everyone.
They want the walks like a duck, sounds like a duck phenomenon to occur in their case. Thank you, everyone. I mean, an attorney for Combs denied the allegations from Richard and told CNN that Richard just wants money from Combs. There's a lot more to unpack on all of this as the days of the trials continue. Remember, it's going to be an 8 to 10 week trial. But next, she has been our eyes inside the room where it's all happening. The courtroom artist behind the sketches of day 4 tells us about the notes that were passed in court and how Diddy responded to his team's big.
This is a rare look inside El Salvador's terrorism confinement center. All right, I'm gonna go in here. Suddenly, you're hit with the intense gaze of dozens locking onto you. The director tells me the inmates, once they're inside one of these sectors, they never leave. Straight down there at the very end, that's where the deportees are being held. We cannot go into that sector. You say that there are people who have done horrible things. Is it possible that there are people who are innocent as well in here?
This is Buick. Now. Buick. Exceptional by design.
Get 0.9% APR on these Buick models. Plus, current eligible non-GM owners get up to $3,000 allowance on Encore GX. Shake up your shower with a fragrance for every feeling. This style freshens you up. This style winds you down. This style leaves you glowing. And this style keeps you going. So whatever care you care about, there's a job for everybody.
It's new cars. Because for 75 years, you have had one thing. To make sure you keep yours. Work. Play. Lake. Relief. Work. Play. Lake.
New 3-in-1 extended relief formula for dry eyes.
Lake.
Wow. Incredible. Amazing. My go-to is Lumify eye drops. Lumify dramatically reduces redness. In 1 minute. And look at the difference. My eyes look brighter and whiter for up to 8 hours. Lumify? It's kind of amazing. See for yourself.
All right, so that's one for our prescription glasses. Plus anti-reflective lens coating. Oh, award-winning customer service. That's also me.
I see.
Free frame adjustments for legs.
And that's included in the
$95. Oh, welcome to Warby Parker.
the first music publisher pioneering music rights and publishing rights in the Middle East.
On his petition, like his vision, it's calling companies, yeah.
The company is built by artists for artists.
We've had the opportunity to bring some of the best songwriters and producers from around the world to come to Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is a great place to grow a business. It's exciting.
Homes.com. It's the best.
You cannot legally say Homes.com is the best.
Well, how can we not say it if that's our new name? Homes.com is the best.com.
Dangerous ladders, gutter muck? Ugh, no wonder you hate cleaning your gutters. Good thing there's Leaf Filter. Our patented filter technology keeps leaves and debris out of your gutters forever. Guaranteed. Call 833-LEAF Filter to get started and get the permanent gutter solution that ends clogs for good.
They took the time to answer all of our questions. They really put us at ease.
Unclog gutters for good. Call 833-LEAF Filter or visit leaffilter.com today.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take one daily Jardians, each day start. It was easy to see. I'm lowering my A1C. For adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardians can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardians and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardians may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. General yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired, and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardians. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardians is really swell, a little pill with a big story to tell.
All happy close. Sunday at 10 on CNN.
Some sticky notes, laughter on the stand. These are just some of the things you only would have caught by actually being inside the room where it was all happening. It was another day of nail-biting testimony as the defense read Cassie Ventura her personal text messages and conversations with Diddy from years ago. Some of them were pretty graphic, if I'm being honest, and graphic is maybe an understatement. But how did the room feel as those texts were being read? Let's ask the person who's here, who's trained on the testimony about the entire trial, bringing us the sketches you're looking at right now. Christine Cornell, nice to talk to you. Welcome back.
Nice to be here.
Christine, as I was mentioning, the defense read some sexually explicit text messages between Diddy and Cassie, and it was an open court today. Tell me how Diddy was reacting as Cassie was taking questions about them.
You know, Diddy was thrumming his fingers against his thigh. I think he's very determined to present this as a, he said, she said, she was really into it. I kind of buy her argument that, that she was placating him to a super large degree. But I think her enthusiasm for him was, absolutely genuine. And, maybe he can score some points in that regard.
Did you get the impression that he was scoring points with the jury?
I don't really, because I think that the stuff that's been shown to them has been so personally humiliating to her that they can't, and also they saw that horrible video, where they could see where if you cross Diddy, the things fly, right? I mean, so I think he's got an uphill battle here, but I think that, he's scoring whatever points he can in the sense that there was something, an extremely tight bond between them.
We were also reporting that Diddy was passing sticky notes to his lawyers while Cassie was answering questions about those text messages. Did you see the passing those?
Oh my goodness, the sticky notes were flying, and I happened to be sitting right behind the defense table, so I did a particular drawing just to try and express it. He was involved The attorney sitting next to him was involved in, of course, waterborne questioning. You know, would lean over and grab notes on a regular basis. They were pursuing every end to, you know, try and cast this in as a, you know, he's not just a pure despicable man. There was a great deal of love between them.
And really quick, did you think that she seemed nervous when she was being asked questions by the defense more than she had been from the prosecution?
Not particularly, frankly. I think that, you know, when there's an exposure of this sort and you've resigned yourself or, you know, actually dedicated yourself to, you know, this is what's coming down, it's very hard to embarrass that woman.
Christine Fernell, thank you so much for telling us what's going on. We appreciate it.
Sure.
Much more on all things Diddy on my brand new CNN podcast, Trial by Jury. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for watching. Anderson Cooper 360 is next.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta reports, with thousands waiting for an organ transplant. There's just not enough of them. Animals need the answer. They just don't have any choice. Go inside the breakthrough procedure. Dr. Sanjay Gupta reports, Animal Farm, Sunday at 8 on CNN.
America's Youth Mental Health Challenge requires bipartisan solutions. And that's why we're partnering with a coalition to empower our future.
There are many complex factors that should all be considered.
Economic hardships, social isolation, overuse of devices, fear of violence, and bullying all play a role. A complicated challenge needs a comprehensive solution.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Let's convene a conversation about empowering parents to keep their kids safe.
Rather than get rich quick, I believe in get rich slow. The high yield cash account at Public actually had higher rates than anything else I was able to find online. I don't want to be losing sleep over having made risky investments. I needed something stable that could really give me long-term financial benefits. I know my money's working hard for me, and I know I can access it anytime I need it.
You make me feel so miserable.
Flonase relieves your worst allergy symptoms, so you can start feeling better the same day. Save your relationship with nature. Flonase.
That's how you make it. Like it never even happened? Sir.
We were born on the battlefield and answered the call when America needed us most. From the original Freedom Machine came the original SUV. The Jeep brand has always stood for American freedom. Now we're standing with you with Employee Pricing Plus. Visit your Jeep brand dealer today. Join the family. Jeep, America's most patriotic brand.
Now with Employee Pricing Plus, purchase and get a coverage of $3,400 below MSRP and 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee gas models. Hurry in. Offer ends June 2nd.
You give my exams.
I give fresh starts, better vision, healthy eyes, everybody was happy.
Hero Doc saves vision.
Well,
Hero Call saves money. Use your vision insurance for exams, classes, and contacts. Call it America's Best.
You on guard tonight?
They just gonna simply say it protects the whole home inside and out.
Stop. This is Simply Safe.
Whoa! There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Fred Foster's every grocery sensation. It's a big deal for $19.99. So we got Joe to talk. It was a big deal in $19.99 to promote it. Super salad, shrimp, and shrimp entree for just $19.99. Oh, Fred Foster.
Maybe if he had admitted it, he would have gotten away with it. I'm not sure that you're repentant.
The United States of Scandal is Jake Tower, now streaming on demand.
This is called Rocket Money. Well, what the heck is that? Some space name? It's a money thing. Rocket Money is an app that puts all your accounts and subscriptions in one place. Is that why my grandson's always glued to his phone, looking at all his subscriptions? That is wonderful. This Rocket Money would actually do something for that too. It shows you all the subscriptions you're paying for, and then you can cancel it right in the app. Everybody download Space Name.
What a hotel, right? And only $250 a night for my favorite suite. What? You didn't change your logo. Get mine for $155. You have to check Trivago. Oh yeah? Prove it.
On Trivago, you can compare hotel prices from multiple different sites, even if you one. Look, same hotel, $100 less.
You didn't check your
Demolitions keep with them. When the rest of the crew bails, you'll be picking them up. You need to evade the authorities before you bail out of there. Run evasive maneuvers, get clear, then head toward the drop zone. This all goes to plan. You rendezvous on the beach in the Palomino Highlands. And remember, Reshkovsky's paying you to get him out. I'm just a friendly stranger you know very little about.
360 now, Sean did it from
Also tonight, administration challenge to afford citizenship by birth. What quickly the president or his son what he wants. And later, we have a great putting a dog here. What the vision? Didn't want that sailing, right? Actually, there's no get a guy voted for sailing down the cities. Good evening, thank you for joining us. We'll be getting some more information that Singapore will show you the defense cross-examination of federal government is following the second half of music homes is ex-girlfriend Cassie Control. The aim of most for the is that Control is a will today the stands explicit testimony relationship with planning is interesting they describe she tells she says help me share text messages just too many CLG.
So today was really about these text messages and establishing this whole relationship that they had that began a decade before now. And she began with these loving and affectionate messages that they exchanged from each other to lay the foundation that this was, a big relationship. And then she got directly into the defense lawyer got directly into the free process, asking Ventura about them, highlighting some where Ventura was the person that initiated the free or had said it one of them, I love our free costs, do it, that was one message. And that was one that was from 2017, which was later in the relationship because Ventura testified at the trial that this was something that she did initially, but he's him and then hated doing it, didn't do it. So she was asked about that, and Ventura said that those were just the words that she said that way, and the lawyer said, those were words you said to Mr. Holmes, because they were trying to say that this was not coercion, this was not force, that she made a decision to participate in these, because I guess part of the sex future.
Who the fuck do you have as streets?
And Holmes was very active today. He'd been pretty, reserved during most of the testimony. Today he was asking us to listen to his attorneys and more breaks. He would jump in and out with them around the defense table. So it really seemed like he wanted to control the questions that they were going to ask because he knows what's going on in that relationship at that time during these sex statements. So the jurors, even up to the end of the day, it's a very long day, they were meeting into the mother husband suite with the text messages. As they appeared to be very engaged. They have been engaged, but yesterday was the explicit photographs from the Free Oscar show. I saw a woman with her hand on her chest, taking a deep breath, another night loved them really quickly. But they haven't paid attention so far, doing a little bit of activist match, going back and forth between the witness and the lawyer.
All right, Kara, we're bringing a former federal prosecutor, Elise Adamson, and Country Defense Attorney Arthur Aidala. So, Arthur, we've spoken at length about what the strategy would be for the defense when bringing this up to the prosecutor.
They have to take the evidence that's in their favor that is incontrovertible. So, the
words are words are. So she's asking some questions. She's asking. She's like, I can't wait for the next one. Look, it's all about consent. It's all about that's it's no secret here. So the times that she's not only saying, "Oh yeah, but let's." At the end of the summation, the summation, they have to say, "Look, these are gross things. These are things we would never do. These are things we would never participate in, and we don't condone it. However, she's not handcuffed. She's not locked in a room. She's not beat down. Look, folks, this text message doesn't lie. I can't wait to do this again." But the whole words, not short words, and that's consent. Even if she didn't want to do it, she still did it because she thought that's what was going to give him her love to him and give love to him. Police are being defenses and changes to me for interaction with just essential at times. Loving is what I'm saying. That's effective.
Yeah, I actually do think that the strategy here is effective. It is actually the only thing that you can do. Because in their opening, they conceded all the time. In a lot of these cases, they're also whether something happens. The defense strategy here, they're admitting all of the conduct. They're just saying, to Arthur's point, that there was consent. And to prove this trafficking charge, they're impressed by your professionalism. Now, that being said, Cassie has contextualized these text messages. She held her ground. She was very credible. So I think a rational juror could conclude that, yes, she said these words, but there was also fear behind these words, and there was also love. But I don't think that necessarily has proven that necessarily has taken all of the strength out of the prosecution's case, and I think there's a lot more evidence that these disgusting acts were in fact forced.
Hey, Gary, I mean, she was also pressed on the drug use by both of them.
Yeah, I mean, she said that they referred to each other as get-high partners because they were oftentimes partying on drugs, and both, she said they were both addicted to opioids. That was separate and apart from the drugs they were taking during the freak-offs. What his lawyers tried to do with this was to show that, and Ventura agreed, that often when Combs hit her, he was high on some drug, and that he often had said he didn't remember hitting her. And that was to explain this one text message she sent yesterday, we saw it, in which she sends him a photo of her.
Before leaving Qatar, President Trump expressed hopes for a nuclear deal with Iran.
It's very simple. It's not like I have to give you 30 pages worth of details. There's only one sentence: they can't have a nuclear weapon. And I think we're getting close to maybe doing a deal.
During this trip, Trump met with business leaders and secured what the White House calls transformative deals with both Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And he again talked about the prospect of the U.S. taking over Gaza once the war there is over.
You know, I have concepts for Gaza that I think are very good. Make it a freedom zone. Let the United States get involved and make it just a freedom zone. Have a real freedom zone.
More details now from CNN's Jeff Zeleny reporting in from Abu Dhabi.
U.S. President Donald Trump has one more series of meetings on Friday morning before heading back to Washington after a whirlwind week in the Middle East. He'll be meeting again at the presidential palace here in Abu Dhabi with business leaders, a constant theme of his trip as he's traveled from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to Doha, on to Abu Dhabi. The president clearly has been flanked by business leaders as he's been announcing deal after deal. But also along the way, the president has been making a bit of diplomatic efforts. Of course, that meeting with the Syrian president. He's been talking endlessly about Iran. But on Thursday, he did something he has never done, and that is visiting a mosque here in Abu Dhabi.
Is this beautiful? It is so beautiful. Very proud of my friends. This is an incredible culture that I can say. This is the first time they've closed the mosque. Is that true? First time they've closed it. That's an honor of the United States, I think. Absolutely. So, better than an honor of me. Let's give it to the country. And it's a great tribute. Thank you.
The images are extraordinary from an American president who infamously, back in 2017, his first term in office, signed a Muslim travel ban as one of his first official acts. He also at one point says, I think Islam hates us. So certainly this is one example of a bit of a shift, not necessarily in thinking or policy of the U.S. president, but perhaps in transaction. He has come to the Middle East to make business deals. There's no doubt about that, and to strengthen relationships. But the end of the day here, all of the deals that the president was hoping would add up to the trillions of dollars, we'll have to carefully check those. Many of them have already been announced. Some of them are pledges of things to come. But there is no question this, the first overseas trip of the second term of the Trump administration has actually gone fairly smoothly as far as these things go. But at the end of the day, as he flies back to Washington with these new relations, all the geopolitical challenges that face the U.S. and the world going into this trip are still right there waiting for President Trump. Jeff Zeleny, CNN, Abu Dhabi.
Craig Hallstrom is the Middle East correspondent for The Economist. He's also author of How Long Will Israel Survive? The Threat from Within. He joins us this hour from the Saudi capital, Riyadh. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So it seems the US president who killed the first nuclear deal with Iran might now be very close to striking a new nuclear deal with Iran. Here's more now from Donald Trump. Listen to this.
You probably read today the story about Iran has sort of agreed to the terms. They're not going to make, I call it in a friendly way, nuclear dust. We're not going to be making any nuclear dust in Iran.
So from what you know at this point about this new deal, is it better? Is it a stronger agreement than the first one? Or is this just another example of the US president creating a problem, then reversing course and declaring success?
I think if we try to parse the headlines from yesterday, Trump saying a deal is close, that we don't need some 30-page agreement, and then also reports yesterday that Steve Witkoff, his Middle East envoy, last Sunday presented the Iranians with a written proposal. The first time he's given them a written proposal. It's very hard to see how they're close to a comprehensive deal. It's going to take a lot more than a week of negotiations to get there. So I suspect that what we're heading for is an interim deal, a framework agreement, not unlike what happened back in 2013 with what was called the Joint Plan of Action. That was an interim agreement that then 2 years later led to the JCPOA, the final nuclear deal. So I think we might be doing something similar here that fits with Trump's desire for a quick win. He can say that he got something done with the Iranians, and for the Iranians, it buys time, which is something they've been trying to do for months. So we might have an interim agreement. Iran might temporarily agree to slow down uranium enrichment in exchange for some sanctions relief, but then I think there will still be more work to be done negotiating a comprehensive deal, which by all accounts so far is shaping up to look quite similar to the one that Trump abandoned in 2018.
If nothing else, the timing here for negotiations seems quite fortunate. Iran is at a very weak point, especially compared to what we're seeing in the strength from Saudi Arabia.
And I think one other striking element right now is the support in the Gulf for these negotiations. When Trump came to the region in his first term in 2017, when he visited Saudi Arabia, Saudi officials pushed him to abandon the nuclear deal. They thought it was a bad deal. They wanted America to leave. They have come to, in some sense, regret that policy position, because now we're in a situation today where, yes, Iran is weak. Its proxies around the region have been badly battered by Israel over the previous 18 months, but its nuclear program has advanced to unprecedented levels. It has enough enriched uranium at this point to produce 6 bombs worth of weapons-grade uranium if it chose to do that. So all 3 of the Gulf states that Trump visited this week urged him to push ahead with this diplomacy. They're not opposing it the way they did 8 years ago. Really, the only foreign government right now urging Trump not to make this deal is the Israeli government.
Well, in a week where more than 100 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli strikes on Gaza, the US president again offered up his post-war solution. Here he is.
People are living under the rubble of buildings that collapsed, which is not acceptable. It's tremendous death, and I want to see that be a freedom zone. And if it's necessary, I think I'd be proud to have the United States have it, take it, make it a freedom zone, let some good things happen.
Back in February, the US president suggested sort of a similar plan, turning Gaza into a Riviera of the Middle East. He reposted these images, which were created by AI. Originally, they were made a satirical comment on the plans. Despite that, President Trump reposted them anyway. Now, whether it's a freedom zone or whether you call it Gaza Largo or whatever, this seems to be the same plan, but with new branding, which will be greeted as pretty much.
And a good portion, if not a majority, of college students are regularly using ChatGPT to do their work. And I'm going to let you sniff my hand and know that I'm not an enemy and that I'm not saying this to incriminate you. You are paying money for a company to give you software that is using the resources you and your parents have taken out loans to pay for to educate an AI model to replace you entirely when you graduate. So when the recession hit in 2008, millennials got fucked over because the workforce that had all this experience that they were meant to replace was pushed out of their jobs. And now the bar for an entry-level position was raised, and you had to have the experience of a Gen Xer who had been in the workforce for 10 years to get an entry-level job. Millennials couldn't get jobs anymore, and that's where we got that whole stereotype about millennials with a 4-year degree working in coffee shops. Okay, so when you graduate now, there's not even going to be a job to not be able to get, because the AI that you were tricked into training will have replaced it, and you will have no actual education. You will not know what you're talking about, and that computer will be smarter than you, and you will have paid a subscription fee to allow it to do that. You are a victim along with the entire rest of the world in that system. And if you don't believe me, look at where the tech gurus of like 10, 15 years ago are now, because 3 of them were in suits as guests at Trump's inauguration. Okay? They are never on your side, and they are actively seeking to destroy your future. A good portion, if not a majority, of college students are regularly using ChatGPT to do their work. And I'm going to let you sniff my hand and know that I'm not an enemy and that I'm not saying this to incriminate you. You are paying money for a company to give you software that is using the resources you and your parents have taken out loans to pay for to educate an AI model to replace you entirely when you graduate. So when the recession hit in 2008, millennials got fucked over because the workforce that had all this experience that they were meant to replace was pushed out of their jobs. And now the bar for an entry-level position was raised, and you had to have the experience of a Gen Xer who had been in the workforce for 10 years to get an entry-level job. Millennials couldn't get jobs anymore, and that's where we got that whole stereotype about millennials with a 4-year degree working in coffee shops. Okay, so when you graduate now, there's not even going to be a job to not be able to get, because the AI that you were tricked into training will have replaced it, and you will have no actual education. You will not know what you're talking about, and that computer will be smarter than you, and you will have paid a subscription fee to allow it to do that. You are a victim along with the entire rest of the world in that system. And if you don't believe me, look at where the tech gurus of like 10, 15 years ago are now, because 3 of them were in suits as guests at Trump's inauguration. Okay? They are never on your side, and they are actively seeking to destroy your future. A good portion, if not a majority, of college students are regularly using ChatGPT to do their work. And I'm going to...
The same way the first plan was created, right?
Right. No one in the region, needless to say, was optimistic or enthusiastic about Trump's Gaza Riviera plan. Everyone wants a viable post-war plan for Gaza that actually allows Palestinians to remain in Gaza. And Trump's initial plan, as he outlined it in February, envisioned removing the population, depopulating Gaza. But before we even talk about a post-war plan, we have to get to the end of the war. And there aren't any signs yet that Trump is willing to apply the sort of pressure on the Israeli prime minister that he would have to apply to convince Netanyahu to accept the permanent ceasefire. There had been a lot of hope in the region, maybe misguided hope, before Trump's visit to the Gulf this week, that he would use one of his speeches, one of his appearances, to announce a more detailed plan for what he sees happening after the war in Gaza, and to publicly call on Netanyahu to end the war, to abandon plans for an expanded ground offensive, which are not only unpopular in Arab countries, but also with most Israelis who want to see this war end and want a deal that will free all of the remaining hostages. Trump hasn't done that. There have been some reports in the Israeli media that Steve Witkoff told the families of hostages in Israel that the Trump administration isn't going to apply that pressure to the Israeli government. But unless Trump does it, this war, which many Israelis believe is continuing solely for Netanyahu's own political interests, this war is going to continue indefinitely.
Greg, thank you so much for being with us. Your insights and your experience, very much valued and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
In a moment here on CNN, defense attorneys grilled Diddy's ex-girlfriend, trying to undermine her credibility and prove she was a willing participant in the so-called freak-off sex parties. Details after the break.
Huh. Noom has GLP-1 meds now?
Yes, Noom combines medication with healthy habits so you can lose the weight and keep it off.
Yeah. GLP-1s starting at $149. That's Noom smart.
Noom, the smart way to lose weight. Brooke Grable here, mom to 4 boys who make a lot of dirty clothes. I dread lifting those heavy detergent containers and the big mess they make. Well, check out my latest life hack. Happy Hour laundry sheets. They're lightweight, compact, and mess-free. Just pull one out and drop it in. No more pouring or measuring. All you need is one sheet for the entire load. The same as this full cup of detergent. The secret is a powerful cleaning formulation embedded in the fibers. The whole sheet quickly dissolves in water. Watch this. I'll put a sheet in. It works in hot or cold water. See how fast it dissolves? Look at this stain. There's no wasting time with pre-treaters because Happy Hour has a built-in stain remover that breaks up stains fast. The formula has a color protector. Plus, it's hypoallergenic and perfect for sensitive skin. And it's eco-friendly, so plastic containers like this won't end up in landfills. But it's still a powerful stain fighter and works in all types of washing machines. This shirt was stained with cherry juice. I'll place one sheet on top and add water. In just seconds, the stain is gone. Check out what people said outside a grocery store.
These are so heavy to lug around. I would love light sheets like these.
Big box, 60 look, and it can fit in my purse.
That's crazy. Doing laundry just got a lot easier. Where can I get some of these?
It's time to lighten the load so you can start Happy Hour sooner. Call or go online now to get Happy Hour laundry sheet. Enough for 120 loads for just $14.99 with free shipping. That's right. Call now or go to our website and get a full month of Happy Hour for 50% off our regular price. Happy Hour ships right from the USA, and I guarantee Happy Hour laundry sheets will make laundry day easier, or you'll get your money back. Call or go online to get yours today.
Call 1-800-960-9570 or go online to buyhappyhour.com. So call 1-800-960-9570 or go to buyhappyhour.com.
Ribs, chocolate cake. You're gonna get sick. You need pumpkin.
I love pumpkin.
It's not food, it's pet insurance. So when you get hurt or sick and you need expensive medicine or surgery,
Pet insurance from Pumpkin can help.
go to pumpkin.care.
Do you have a box of videotapes, film reels, or photos that are degrading? Legacy Box Professional shares them to DVDs, thumb drive, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and safe, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit legacybox.com today to get our $9 offer.
Precise Designs.
Subtle curves. Curated upgrades. Elevated design for thoughtful living. Thuma.
This is CNN.
What excites me the most is being able to do what I love and being able to inspire others.
Zimbabwe's, Mozambicans, people from Swaziland, people from Tanzania. If you want to have build a brand, I think this is the place to be.
Me traveling around the continent has also made me very passionate about what we do.
Oh.
God. Saturday on CNN.
Defense lawyers for Sean Diddy Combs will continue their cross-examination of his former girlfriend on Friday, trying to prove she was a willing participant in his now infamous sex parties. Cassie Ventura faced a tough interrogation Thursday. CNN's Elizabeth Wakewester has more details now on day 4 of Diddy's racketeering and sex trafficking trial in New York.
Each character and each actor that came into the project brought their own thing to the table.
A 21-year-old Cassie Ventura in 2008, promoting the film Step Up 2.
Oh my gosh, it was an overwhelming experience, but exciting all at the same time.
During day 1 of cross-examination, she was asked about her budding relationship and emails with Sean Combs from that same year. When Combs said, "I love you, I miss you, can't wait to hold you," Ventura responded, "I'm a very lucky woman. I miss you so much. I'd fly wherever you needed me." The defense building its case that Ventura was a willing participant and enjoyed the so-called freak-offs, or long drug-fueled sex sessions involving male escorts, she says were orchestrated by Combs. In 2009, when Combs messaged asking if she wanted to freak off, Ventura replied, "I'm always ready to freak off, LOL. I just want it to be uncontrollable," Ventura said, referring to sex with the escort. "I can't wait. That's why I want to see," Combs responded. Later that year, when Combs emailed, "I want to be nasty for you," Ventura replied, "In order for me to be more open with the things we do in bed, I need to feel safe, like home. This is my husband, and this is the only man that will ever have this aggressive sexual side of me." When asked by the defense if this showed open communication between the two, Ventura said, "I would say." But the prosecution says this video from 2016 showing Combs assaulting Ventura as she says she tried to flee a freak-off proves the relationship devolved into abuse and control. Still, a year after that assault, the defense noted Ventura sent this to Combs in 2017. "I love our freak-offs when we both want it." Ventura saying on the stand that the text was just words at that point, echoing her previous testimony of feeling trapped and afraid of Combs's rages. The defense also argued that jealousy played a role in the volatile relationship, with Ventura writing, "I'm nervous that I'm just becoming the girlfriend that you get your fantasies off of, and that's it."
I just miss Kim, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Combs' time with the late Kim Porter, the mother of 4 of his children, and other women also came up. Ventura testifying she has some jealousy of Miss Porter because Combs would spend holidays with her even though they had split up. Their fights over infidelity were a little scary, she said. In 2011, she dated rapper Kid Cudi while on a break from Combs. "I thought it would be way too dangerous to tell him about that," she said. But Combs lunged at her, she says, after finding Kid Cudi's name in her phone during a freak-off, which still went on during breaks in their relationship because it was a job, Ventura said. Now, there was actually a heated moment in court when the judge reprimanded the defense essentially for taking too long with their cross-examination. The judge said that there was a prearrangement of sorts that Cassie Ventura would be done with her testimony by end of this week. The reason? Well, she's pregnant, and she's very pregnant. Cassie Ventura can literally go into labor any day now. So the judge said that by end of day Friday, cross-examination and redirect from the prosecution has to be wrapped up. Now, Combs' defense said she is the most critical witness, and this is a very important case. Their client, of course, is facing life in prison if convicted. Back to you.
Well, with Gaza on the verge of famine, private contractors may soon be delivering aid to parts of the territory, and they'll be doing so over the objections of the UN. And we'll explain why after the break.
Grief isn't talked about much, but that's what my podcast is all about. Join me and my guests for a new season with new conversations about loss, life, and love.
All There Is with Anderson Cooper. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Join me, Larry Madowo, as I introduce you to Africa's trendsetters. See how they use their talent, resources, and passion to make a difference on the continent. This is African Voices Changemakers.
With purpose and style, these two designers are building a new creative legacy for Africa.
I am pushing against this whole idea that modernity in design comes only from European approach to design.
African Voices Changemakers on CNN. This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source. Inside Africa, see a continent in transformation as trailblazers evolve culture, technology, and industry across Africa and beyond. In Namibia, witness the cycling revolution steering the country toward a two-wheeled future.
I don't only write for myself, I write for the community, I write for the young girls. At home.
Inside Africa on CNN in association with Zenith Bank.
My happy place. One place I could truly be myself. I get a deep sense of calm when I'm here. Whenever my schedule clears, I head straight to my happy place.
Bali allows me to put myself first.
Thailand seemed very welcoming to me. I hate how good that tasted.
I want people to experience this beautifully intricate, diverse city. There's no other place like it.
My happy place. Sunday on CNN.
I'm Richard Quest. I love traveling the world. Broaden the mind, open the heart, and I'm not done yet. It's time to embrace new adventures. Find the fun. Seize the moments in this world of wonder.
That is beautiful. It's very good.
Saturday on CNN. Dr. Sanjay Gupta reports
It's a really big moment. There is a lot of emotions.
on an innovative medical technique.
I got to tell you, I did not know what to expect. It's powerful just to be here.
With thousands waiting for an organ transplant.
We have to ration organs. There's just not enough.
Could animals be the answer?
We just don't have any choice right now. That was an ultrasound of a pig kidney inside Tim.
Go inside the breakthrough procedure. Dr. Sanjay Gupta reports. Animal Farm, Sunday on CNN.
That's $155 for the night.
How? I paid $250.
Trivago.
But what if I always use my loyalty rate?
It's on Trivago.
Well, I always book directly with the hotel.
That's in there too.
Trivago compares hotel prices from hundreds of sites, so you can save up to 40%.
I thought I got the best price on my favorite site.
Do I really have to say it again?
Hotel? Trivago.
Hey, son, before you get married, we need to have a talk.
Not right now, Dad. I need to go over my vows. Is L. Duncan going to talk to me about
Setting a budget when you bet. I heard that you won that long shot parlay, but that you haven't won since. Just because you win big once doesn't mean you figured it all out.
Still need to have that talk about
Celebrating love. That is what today is all about. At ESPN, we believe the best play is a smart play.
I'm Eleni Chakras in Dubai, and this is CNN.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm John Vors. Let's check today's top stories. Not much is expected from the first direct talks between Russia and Ukraine in more than 3 years. Negotiating teams are set to meet in Istanbul without Presidents Putin, Zelensky and Trump. The US president says there will be no progress on peace until he meets one-on-one with Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump will soon wrap up his tour of the Middle East. He'll be heading back to Washington with billions of dollars in deals for investments in the US economy and potentially reshaping American foreign policy. The US and the UAE signed a partnership to build a massive data center complex in Abu Dhabi to advance AI capabilities. Friday expected to be the final day of testimony for the former girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs. Casey Ventura faces more tough cross-examination from her defense attorneys. Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. Private contractors could be delivering aid to parts of Gaza within 2 weeks. Even though the territory is on the verge of famine, the plan has come under fire mostly from the United Nations, which says the operation will be limited in scope and essentially controlled by the Israeli military. And beyond that, sets a dangerous precedent for aid distribution globally. CNN's Jeremy Diamond reports.
Amid the crush of bodies clamoring for food, children are being put to an unthinkable test. Who will manage to fill their family pot, and who will have to wait another day to eat? This is how Gaza's children are being forced to live as Israel continues to block the entry of food. A total siege that is now in its 11th week. A boy burned by the small prize of lentil soup he has managed to win. A girl scooping what remains with her bare hands. But before it all, a search for food. For them and their families, with no guarantee of success. I wake up every day, then we go find a kitchen. If we don't find food, then we go to another kitchen and another kitchen, Mohammed explains. If we don't find anything, we go all day without food. Nearly all of Gaza's population now experiencing crisis levels of food insecurity or worse, with 56% at the emergency or catastrophic level, meaning very high rates of acute malnutrition and large gaps in food consumption. Unless aid gets in, more than 3/4 of the population are projected to fall to those emergency levels.
Every single one of the 2.1 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip face the risk of famine. 1 in 5 face starvation.
As this man-made crisis worsens, Israel and the United States approving a new, tightly controlled mechanism to get aid into some parts of Gaza. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation says it plans to launch its operations within 2 weeks. Until then, it called on Israel to allow aid in through existing mechanisms. Israel has yet to publicly agree. A person involved in the planning said Israel has agreed to allow some aid into Gaza in the coming days, but Israel has yet to say so publicly. The UN says it won't participate, saying the new plan will make things worse, facilitating forced displacement and putting civilians at risk. In Gaza, people are running out of time, as charity kitchens like this one run out of food. 14 pots were not enough, the manager of this kitchen says. Those who didn't get food will not eat anything today and will come back tomorrow and might not get anything again. Cases of acute malnutrition are spiking. People are being pushed to the brink, like Reda Ahmed, who fainted yesterday from a lack of food. I swear I can't walk anymore. There is nothing to eat, she says. As for the children who stand waiting for a chance to be fed, many are now learning what it means to go hungry. Jeremy Diamond, CNN, Jerusalem.
Brooke Ringwald here, mom to 4 boys who make a lot of dirty clothes. I dread lifting those heavy detergent containers and the big mess they make. Well, check out my latest life hack, Happy Hour laundry sheets. They're lightweight, compact, and mess-free. Just pull one out and drop it in. No more pouring or measuring. All you need is one sheet for the entire load. The same as this full cup of detergent. The secret is a powerful cleaning formulation embedded in the fibers. The whole sheet quickly dissolves in water. Watch this. I'll put a sheet in. It works in hot or cold water. See how fast it dissolves? Look at this stain. There's no wasting time with pre-treaters because Happy Hour has a built-in stain remover that breaks up stains fast. The formula has a color protector. Plus, it's hypoallergenic and perfect for sensitive skin. And it's eco-friendly, so plastic containers like this won't end up in landfills. But it's still a powerful stain fighter and works in all types of washing machines. This shirt was stained with cherry juice. I'll place one sheet on top and add water. In just seconds, the stain is gone. Check out what people said outside a grocery store.
These are so heavy to lug around. I would love light sheets like these.
This box makes me love any container person.
That's great. Doing laundry just got a lot easier. We're gonna get some of these.
It's
only you can be. Y'all can be insecure. Only you can be loved. Y'all will be very secure. You can be loved.
lighten the load so you can start Happy Hour soon. Call or go online now to get Happy Hour laundry sheets. Enough for 100.
Y'all been very secure. Y'all been very secure.
Loads for just $14.99 with free shipping. That's right. Call now or go to our website and get a full month of Happy Hour for 50% off our regular price. Happy Hour ships right from the USA, and I guarantee Happy Hour laundry sheets will make laundry days easier, or you'll get your money back. Call or go online to get yours today.
Call 1-800-960-9570 or go online to buyhappyhour.com. So call 1-800-960-9570 or go to buyhappyhour.com.
What are you in for?
I need a toy. Turns out what goes in doesn't always come out.
Why wait for more surprises? Get 90% cash back on eligible vet bills for accidents and illnesses with a Pumpkin pet insurance plan. Visit pumpkin.care.
Do you have a box of videotapes, film reels, or photos that are degrading? Legacy Box professionally converts them to DVDs, thumb drive, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and safe, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit legacybox.com.
Discover elevated design, quality craftsmanship, and timeless sophistication. Oasis takes many shapes, but the details remain the same. Design for thoughtful living. Explore the collection at Thuma.
I'm Christopher Lamb at the Vatican, and this is CNN.
Oh, there was another one. That was another controlled explosion. It's one nurse for this whole area here. He's coming here to buy medicine. The
most important stories of our time. What they mean to us all. It's vital. I share them with you.
A very warm welcome to share everyone. Far.
This Suarez tonight is a day on CNN. That's not my job. This is what we've been looking for. You never know what you're talking about. It might just change your life.
I knew that. I built this. You fucking jackass.
Excites me the most is being able to do what I love.
Our way was that we Ricans, people from Swaziland, people from Tanzania. If you want to build a brand, I think this is the place to be.
We around the continent has also been very passionate about what we do. Africa Avant-Garde, Saturday on CNN.
In a time long since past, the world's biggest retailer with a marketing campaign on falling prices.
I fall pieces each time I see you again.
Yes, that was 1994. 3 decades on, and Walmart is now warning prices will soon rise because of Donald Trump's tariffs. Past, the world's biggest retailer with a marketing campaign on falling prices.
I fall pieces each time I see you again.
Yes, that was 1994. 3 decades on, and Walmart is now warning prices will soon rise because of Donald Trump's tariffs. The company says razor-thin retail margins mean absorbing all the increased costs from the new tariffs is just not possible, and prices on electronics, toys, and food will have to go up. Here's CEO Doug McMillan on Thursday's earnings call.
We will do our best to keep our prices as low as possible. But given the magnitude of the tariffs, even at the reduced levels announced this week, we aren't able to absorb all the pressure given the reality of narrow retail margins.
Even though the United States and China have agreed to lower tariffs, most Chinese goods are still facing a 30% levy, and this is only on pause. Walmart is expected to hike prices by the end of the month. Magna Carta is one of the most important documents in history, regarded as the earliest declaration of human rights dating back to the 1300s, which is why a recent discovery made by a British historian is such a surprise. King's College professor David Carpenter was searching for a copy of the document in the archives of Harvard University's law school, and he realized he stumbled upon one of 7 known originals under King Edward I.
I worked through the Harvard text, word for word, eye-breaking work, comparing it to the authorized version. And jolly nerve-wracking, actually, because I kept thinking, oh, God, it's going to fail. But actually, no, it didn't. It was fine colors, and its text is virtually identical to that found in these 6 other originals. And that persuaded me more than anything else that this was absolutely genuine and authentic.
The Great Charter enshrined the principle the king was not above the law. That was the main principle. Harvard bought the document for just $27 80 years ago. Antique Roadshows, here we come. I'm John Force, back at the top of the hour with more CNN Newsroom, but please stay with us. World Sports starts after a short break. I'll see you back here in less than 20 minutes.
It is a busy news day all around the world.
This is One World.
The world's top headlines with some of the world's biggest players.
Stories that captivate from 2 unique perspectives. Zain Asher and Biana Golodriga use their extensive experience to cover global news with passion and intellect.
Talk us through what specifically Secretary of State Marco Rubio was talking about. What leverage?
What's up? How's it going? I'm great. I'm just gaming.
Today
What's
on
up,
CNN.
Bowen Higgins?
Join me, Larry McDowell, as I introduce you
I think I said that right.
trendsetters. See how they use their talent, resources, and passion to make a difference on the continent. This is African Voices Changemakers.
With purpose and style, these 2 designers are building a new creative legacy for Africa.
Already. You told me this. Men were already familiar with me before women were. I'm gonna tell you something that she said to me before this when we first met. This before she was doing all of this stuff. Now she was doing mostly internet, and yes, you were doing the stuff with World of Wonder. One of the things that she said, and I never forgot this, was that you could tell when you were going to the grocery store back then who knew you, but they didn't really want to say anything because at that time you knew that they knew you from porn. And so it was just kind of like, but they wouldn't necessarily, oh my God, they would just kind of like do like a double take. But then as you started to move into other mediums or other media, film, radio, whatever, then it was okay to, like, oh, hey, because
Cool. I think you'll like this. It pays a lot, which is what you want. So there's this chemical laboratory called Humane Labs. Used to be run by Rashkovsky and Popov's pharma company. A few years ago, it was leased to a shadow company run in part by Don Percival. You guys know Don Percival? Well, he's a warmongering right-wing douche with all the subtlety of a red dildo. Trust me, I've met a lot of them. Warmongering right-wing douches, not red dildos. Whatever. Point is, Percival is up to no good in that shithole. Nerve agents, we believe. At least, that's what the intel seems to suggest. What I got told on the streets, and what my boss, who doesn't want you to know his name, will pay you to discover, because, well, don't worry about the why, just worry about the how. First, got a couple things to take care of. Get the Humane Labs key codes and the armored 4x4s, like the ones guarding the place. You'll do the key code exchange just off Elgin Avenue. You're going to be meeting with somebody who's had a bit of trouble with the Bureau, so please use caution. One of you is going to do the exchange, one of you is a bodyguard, and the other two are going to be lookouts. The armored 4x4s belong to Merriweather Security Consulting, which belongs to Don Percival, who is running Humane Labs. You'll find the Merriweather insurgents on exercise at Davis Courts in Blaine County. All right, people, doesn't matter what order you do this in, just get it done. This will pay well. No questions asked. We never met.
I answered Bowen Higgins. I thought you heard me. I'm gaming.
My contact's trying to drop her Bureau surveillance. I mean, that would be tough in normal circumstances, but these guys have a real hard-on for her. In a non-creepy, just annoying sense. So anyway, we're hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. That's why we got a team of 4 on this. Let's go. My contact needs to be able to get in and out quick. Make sure the entrance to the lot isn't blocked by your vehicle.
I really forgot his name. I really did.
I'm a huge fucking nerd.
You here for the access codes? Humane Labs? All right. When I get the all clear, we'll give you the codes. Can I get sign-off? We need to be sure about that. That bank. That was you, right? Or someone associated to you? What you're getting into right now is a whole different ballgame, my friends. You got the go-ahead? You got it.
The FIB, what are these clowns doing here? Shit!
The FIB.
Yo, we're shaking. We're still working on How you doing? Hey.
I wasn't going over there. Okay.
Check out the new vehicle on the podium. You can win it with just a spin on the lucky wheel. Play around. You're invited to indulge in an elegant world-class gaming experience.
Oh, well, whatever. All right, I'm going to bed. It is Friday, which means it's time for bed. I don't know. But y'all have a great night. Sleep tight. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Well, today. Good night. I know they're going to be happy because I know they're tired of me making all this noise, especially my big girl. Later.